Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagatgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagatgurum. Okay, so we finished first two verses of chapter 5. It opened with Arjun's confusion, and he was asking Krishna Bhagwan that at one point you were praising karma sannyas, and then you are telling me to go and do karma yoga. So can you please tell me what is shreyas for me, what is good for me to do, because you're confusing me with your different things that you're saying. So Bhagwan said in the second verse, renunciation of action and yoga of action both lead to the highest bliss. So he did not favor one over the other. He just said both of them are good. But of the two, yoga of action is superior to the renunciation of action. And then we were discussing that how he was addressing Arjun. So he said for Arjun, karma yoga, to start with karma yoga is better. Because, otherwise it has to be with your personality. And then we were discussing that how most of us are in that personality. That's why. But if last time some people were having some confusion and all, but what we have to remember is that each person can have their own path also, mixture of path also, whatever suits them, whatever they are progressing, they should stick with it. But when you try to copy each other and, go against your own grain, that's when the trouble starts. So he's just telling Arjun what is right for him. And then there was another confusion here. Krishna Bhagwan is telling this in this chapter that karma yoga is better, but later on he says something else. No, throughout 18th chapter he sticks with, for Arjun, karma yoga is better. The last chapter also he says the same thing. And then everybody has to take it as a personal journey and see where they fit, and then go from there. It does not matter. Like, it is one of those things. It doesn't matter which road you take. All road leads to Rome, or there's some kahavat like that, meaning whether you go left or right, it will still go to the same. If you are sincere to your path, that's the most important thing. And then there are certain basic elements that whether you are in renunciation or you are in karma yogi, both of them have to develop those things, and that's what you're going to learn now in verse 3. That what are the things that are most important. So it does not matter which path you take, certain things you have to reach there, certain mental attitude. So with that, whoever has the Geeta, is verse 3 of chapter 5. I'm going to chant. Yeya sanitya sannyasi yo na dveshti na kankshati nirdvandho hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. Neya is should be known. Saha, he. Nitya sannyasi, permanent ascetic, means hamesha. Sannyasi samjho usko, like that. Yaha, who. Na is not. Dveshti is hates. Na is not. Kankshati, desires. And yahan par kankshati we have to understand as a deep craving of something. Not just ordinary desire, when, that craving type of desire, that's what it is. Nirdvandva is free from pair of opposites. And we will go for each word what it means in detail. He is verily Mahabaho, oh mighty armed. He's calling him, you can do this kind of thing, encouraging him, Mahabaho. Sukham, easily. Bandhat, from the bondage. Pramuchyate is set free. So what is Krishna Bhagavan? Firstly, let's see the context, where it's coming from. So Arjun in the beginning wanted to run away because he felt, hey, agar knowledge hi leni hai, to why don't I become a sannyasi? And then we were discussing कि जब लोग बहुत परेशान हो जाते हैं घर गृहस्थी के झंझट से, तो उनके मन में आता है, ओ आई वॉन्ट द मोक्षा, सो माइट एज वेल जस्ट ड्रॉप एवरीथिंग एंड बिकम सन्यासी. साउंड्स अ वेरी इजी एंड ग्लैमरस पैथ, यू नो. सो दैट्स वेयर इट. सो कृष्ण भगवान ने सारी दलीलें उसको दी वगैरह वगैरह, अभी भी उसके मन से वो गया नहीं है सन्यासी बनना. तो फिर कृष्ण भगवान इस वर्ष में बोलते हैं, तो समझ ले कि कर्मयोगी सन्यासी ही है. कभी कभी हम लोग बोलते हैं ना कि समटाइम like some people insist on something. Okay, just think that it is like that he's usko kind of like a father will tell the son. So he's saying, okay, अगर तेरे को सन्यासी इतना पसंद है तो तू सोच ले कि कर्मयोगी सन्यासी है. Okay, वो भाव से वो उसको बोल रहे हैं. So basically what Krishna Bhagwan is doing, he is redefining. बिकॉज हम लोग सन्यासी मीन्स सब छोड़ छाड़ के गुफा में बैठने वाले को सोचते हैं. ओकर कलर के कपड़े पहन लिए, माला लगा ली, तिलक लगा लिया और सब छोड़ छाड़ के उसको बोलते हैं. बट कृष्ण भगवान ने रेवोल्यूशनाइज कर दिया उसको कि भाई नित्य सन्यासी, हमेशा सन्यासी जो कर्म योगी है, ही इज नित्य सन्यासी. सो एंड देन ही इज ऑल्सो टेलिंग अर्जुन दैट लुक, यू डोंट हैव टू renounce everything to be a sannyasi. You don't have to wear a particular clothes, you don't have to live in an ashram, you don't have to prepare for that ultimate state where you can, merge with God. You can be doing whatever you're doing and you can do it. So that's the main idea over here. And then, so while performing your duties, you can develop these qualities. And that's why we were discussing that how fighting a war, Arjun can develop these qualities. So fighting a war is like, most horrendous job. And fighting with whom? Even his own people. Literally killing his own people, he can develop those qualities. So for we cannot complain about, our stuff. That's what it is. But now the main thing comes. Who is the person? He is a sannyasi who is free from dvesh. There's a word, yo na dveshti na kankshati. So whether you are a actual sannyasi, तुमने संन्यास का पाथ लिया हो, या तुम householder हो, if you want to progress in this path, the first thing you have to be is you have to be free from hatred. And this idea of this na dveshti is throughout Bhagavad Gita is going. Okay, and then we will see a little bit more. But one more thing, he says na dveshti na kankshati. Deep craving that we feel that we should not have, like attachment to, results, and I want this or I want that, I want this person to behave like this, those kind of cravings also you have to be free of. So it does not matter which path you are, that's the thing you have to drop. Those are more important thing than, path can be according to your nature, what you want to, but these are the qualities you must develop for you to progress. And the third one he talks about is nirdvandva, that you have to rise above the pairs of opposite. And we have discussed in detail that how we cannot get rid of likes and dislikes because we are born with certain temperament. We should not come under its sway. So we should not get affected by it, and we should become, in such a way that, okay, that they are their likes and dislikes. Sometimes things happen according to my like, sometimes it will happen according to dislike. I don't need to get fazed by it, and my duty is more important. That kind of attitude we have to develop. That's what he's talking about. So those are the three things mainly. And then what is the result of it? Such person who has developed these three qualities, so no matter which path you are, those three qualities, after the one develops, you become free from bondage. That is what happens, that we become free from bondage of this mental, things, that negativities and all that we have, become free from it. And, similar thought process is going to be in Kathopanishad, but Kathopanishad, it's more focused on knowledge. But you will see that the same idea is over there also in our thing. Okay. And then in chapter 3, Krishna Bhagwan had given the example of Raja Janak to him. These are called like Raj Rishis. The ones who are like saints, but they are also kings. So Raja Janak did not take a sannyas till the end. He was a Raja, he took care of his praja and all, but उनका तो सभी लोग मानते हैं कि विदेह बोलते हैं उनको, means he did not have attachment to his body and he knew he was, like enlightened soul. So he's saying Raja Janak followed this path, that he was a karma yogi and he continued and he still got enlightenment. So that's the example, because we have to, in Bhagavad Gita, like we have to connect previous chapters and you have to take it all together. You cannot take the verses in isolation, because then you will be not understanding the whole thing. So let's talk about now the getting rid of the negativity. So the first is the dvesh, right? That no dvesh, we should not have the dvesh. So just try to analyze where it starts. So it starts with a little irritation with something. I don't, this person is irritating, or I don't like this situation, or thing, person or situation. Those three are usually things that हमको द्वेष होता है, right? किसी person से हो सकता है, किसी situation से हो सकता है, किसी चीज से हो सकता है. So it starts with a little irritation. उसको थोड़ा हवा दो ना irritation को, तो वो anger में बदल जाएगा. और anger को, if you keep it in your heart for a long time, that turns into hatred. So that's what he's talking about, that we should not have this dvesh, and this is the science of like another angle, the way to look at that, how it develops in you. So and then we had studied in the previous chapters that anger is nothing but I desire something and some situation comes in the middle of it. Either a person comes, situation comes, thing comes, and that's when anger starts. So this is all related, and I'm just trying to kind of summarize a little bit of what we had learned before so we don't forget. So that's where it's coming from, this anger, mainly our own desire only, if you think about it. That's what it's coming. But how to get over this? The best thing for kind of remedy Krishna Bhagavan is given, follow your duty, and then whatever I have to do to finish my duty, I do it. That's when you rise above your likes and dislikes and the duality, because just by thinking I cannot do it. I need some anchor. Hey, hold on to something so that this will go away. So when I hold on to my duty, then, like the Swami said, from Delhi Wale Swami said, strange thing happens when you hold on to your duty and keep doing it. Mind becomes free from negativity. Your mind is trained to rise above likes and dislikes. And, like Meeraji was saying, hey, I don't like to do dishes. But since we are all householders, we have to do dishes. So I said, okay, मेरे को करना ही है. फिर वो आदत बन जाती है. Right? फिर हम लोग जब शुरू में इंडिया से आए थे, हम लोग को कितना बुरा लगता था, बिकॉज वो कहाँ अमेरिका सभी लोग बोलते हैं. मैंने कितने लोगों को सुना है ये लेडीज लोग को बोलते हुए, अमेरिका इतनी ग्रेट जगह है, यहाँ के भांडे घस रहे हैं. But now we don't say, okay, we have to do it, you rise above it. Just very simple example, but that's how it starts. Okay, I have to finish it, I have to do it, then your mind gets pure. So what the Delhi Wale Swami said, there are so many people in our culture who live a very simple life. They do their regular duties and they do it in this karma yoga mode and they become enlightened. We may not even know about them. See, only the people who become teachers, like Sadhguru or Shri Ravi Shankar and all, we know about them because they have this another knack that they can, motivate thousands and millions of people and all that. But there are householders out there who are like totally simple life and they are enlightened beings. Once in a while, other people discover them. Like Nisarg Datta Maharaj, Ramana Maharishi. Somebody discovered them and they made them popular and then they become, world teachers. But there are so many of them, like that. So anybody can reach that state by this path. That's what Krishna Bhagavan is trying to tell him. And then this dvesh thing, there is one more point I wanted to bring about the dvesh. To be free from dvesh, that idea continuously is going in chapter 12 also, it comes back up again. Because when Arjun was asking about bhakti, so Krishna Bhagwan starts his, remember that I was saying that in chapter 12, Arjun asked, मैं सगुण उपासना करूं या निर्गुण उपासना करूं? Which one is better? And Krishna Bhagwan did not answer him which one is better. He said, it doesn't matter, but these are the qualities that the bhakt should develop. And the first one was adveshtaina sarva bhutana, meaning you should have no hatred for anybody in this world. So it's not like, like our teacher used to say in our class when I was in Houston, she said, even if you love the entire world, but there's one person that you have a dvesh in your heart for, that will stop you from your path. So it is sarva bhutanam. Even if they have done horrible things to you, but you don't develop that dvesh in them. That's the key thing. So it is like for everybody or for anybody, you cannot have that dvesh. So this idea has been going on even the later part of the chapters and all that. And then another little technical thing that we found out, likes and dislikes and all, but let's see a little more from another angle. Why does this dvesh happen? So, one of the Swami explained that dvesh happens because of the sense of duality in us. That's why the dvesh happens. If suppose if I think I'm the only one, मैं किससे द्वेष करूँगी? Right? And then even within our psychology over here, जो हमको अपना लगता है ना पर्सन, उसके साथ द्वेष नहीं होता है. So कभी कभी अपने बच्चों के साथ भी हमारा arguments होता है. We don't hate them, So we get over it so fast because okay, चलो माफ कर दिया एक दूसरे को and all that, things like that. So it is the duality that causes that dvesh. So, and in duality, what happens, because I don't understand the whole universe properly, I don't understand, who's God. So then I develop intense attachment to one side of the thing. That's why dvesh happens. So it's become, when we become selfish and we compare and, those kind of, when ideas come to our head, and in Kathopanishad, they will open it up a little more. The duality se kya hota hai, kyun hota hai, ye sab. So it is like this. These both are complementary to each other, what we are doing. So then what is the technique? We have already studied, but we'll revise it. Technique is that you develop relationship with God. Because whatever result you get, or whatever you get in your life, if you look at it as a prasad from Bhagwan, that's when you become free of dvesh. That is the key thing, that the surrender to that, Bhagwan for the results or anything that comes to you. And then another thing that we have to develop is the seva bhav. So whatever I'm doing in my life, I could be doing at home, in the office, in the community, in the country. I'm doing something for the environment. I'm doing seva of God. That's what we have to develop. That's when you get over your personal likes and dislikes. That's where the dvesh will not come. That's where, all those negativities will not come. And, the Dilli Wale Swami gave an example of Hanumanji. He said, Hanumanji, everybody knows that he's like a Ram Sevak. He will do anything. So he said, वो लंका में पहुंच गए सीता जी को खोजने के लिए. फिर वो we know the whole story कि उन्होंने लंका को क्या बोलते हैं, सीता जी के पास गए और सीता जी ने उनको बोला कि हाँ फल वल खा लो. फिर उन्होंने खाया, फिर उनको वो बंदी बना लिया उन्होंने. राइट? एंड एवरीबडी नोज कि हनुमान जी को सारे वरदान प्राप्त थे कि कोई उनको नहीं बांध सकता. राइट? लेकिन फिर भी वो बंध के बैठ गए. Why? Because he wanted to do भगवान का काम. Because उनका ईगो नहीं आया. कोई और होता तो वो बांध के दिखा मुझे, अभी मैं अपने आप को छुड़ा लेता हूँ. वो मतलब he became so humble that he let himself be tied and taken to his Ravan's darbar to be interrogated because his focus was on seva of Bhagwan. So it is an example that when you have a seva bhav in your heart, your ego will be down. So it's like, ask yourself who you are working for, your own prejudice, your own ego, or you're working for God. Because if you work for God, that's when your personal likes and dislikes get negated. And all these, you become free from like dvesh and cravings and all that. And the other angle is, that craving happens, like I want this, I want that, happens when we have limited vision about ourselves. When we think that we are, just this body and, that's all I am. That's one part. And the second part is craving happens when I'm looking for something I don't have, right? That's what craving is. I don't have something, so I want it so bad. But there is attitude that people develop that my God knows what is good for me. So if I surrender and I'm doing God's work, firstly develop that seva bhav, right? Once I develop that seva bhav, I have to have that faith that whatever I truly need, God will provide me. And then in your own experience, you will see many times in our life, we need something, or we need a particular situation, or we need a thing, or we need somebody to behave in such a way, and you feel helpless, but suddenly some help comes to you and your job is done, right? It has happened, and you have not lifted a finger, but it is done. And travels also and all also, because Bhagwan has made a promise in chapter 9, to Arjun, that whoever surrenders to me, or whoever remembers me, I take care of his yoga and kshema. And I think this word has come before, yoga and kshema. I think Kathopanishad mein aaya hoga. I remember discussing about it. It has a slightly different meaning when you say together the word yoga and kshema. It means what you need, Bhagwan will provide, and whatever you have that you need, he will preserve it for you. So that kind of faith, when we develop, that's when the craving will stop. Because then we will say, hey, if koi cheez nahi mili, to maybe it was not good for me. And then, we have discussed it many times. Some situation happens, it sounds totally horrible situation when we are in it, and we are like, I don't know why this is happening to me. After 5-10 years, you analyze and you say, maybe that some blessing in disguise happened. That thing happened, and now I've woken up to some higher thing now. Even with health issues, I've heard people, like, some 1 or 2 people, when they came down with some heart attack or something, and they did survive, and they said, all of a sudden, like, my attitude toward my family changed. My attitude toward my life changed, because I came so close to death, and I realized things that were important, or something like that. Or some people who are like, get very, very, very sick. All of a sudden, they feel like my body may be sick, but my mind has opened up to something higher. And even if I die, I don't care, because I have achieved something higher, So that's what it is that we have, in this whole process. So that's why you cannot see situation from the worldly perspective. They may look bad, but spiritually, it's a whole different matter. Okay. So then the other thing that we have to, let's discuss about pairs of opposite. So pairs of opposite is usually in Bhagavad Gita, they describe pairs of opposite. The classic example is from body perspective, mind perspective, and intellect perspective. Body perspective, they will say heat and cold, because body feels this heat or cold. Mind perspective, it's like Jai Vijay, victory and defeat and all that. And at intellect level, man apman. It's, somebody hurt me because they said something, somebody praised me. That is a matter of intellect. So these are just samples, but the whole world is, our intellect works in this duality. So if I take only one part of life, if I want only victory only, never want a defeat, firstly, that's not going to happen. Sometimes you will get defeated, sometimes you will have victory. So when we just cling to one side or hate the other, that's when the whole trouble starts. Fear, torture, you feel in the mind, and that what binds you. But if you take everything together and say, like, at the highest level, they say victory and defeat, you treat it as saman, same. Chalo, we are not there yet, but at least philosophically we should understand that both of them will come to us. We accept both and don't reject it and get upset. Then only we will get over all these mental, or become free. So the true seeker actually accepts both. And we know in Krishna Bhagwan's life, he demonstrated. He had won all the wars, but he ran away from that one of the, what was his name? Jarasandh. Ran chhod, that's why his name is. Because, उनको उनसे एक तरह से हार ही खानी पड़ी, right? Because he retreated and then he went to Dwarka and developed, So whether Bhagwan also comes on the earth, he has to face defeat sometime. And in Ramayana, there's a famous story that, love कुश के द्वारा वो defeat हो गए रामचंद्र जी. कहाँ जाके रावण वामन को मार के आए, अपने बेटों से defeat हो गए. He said, okay, even Ramchandra ji has to face defeat. And he took it, in the right stride. So that's how, just a few examples. So, so when overall we take this picture, that's what he's calling a Nitya Sannyasi. The person who can get over those three things, should not hate anybody, should not have cravings, and should rise above the pairs of opposite. It does not matter whether you are sannyasi, taken the path of sannyas, or you are a householder doing karma yoga. Either one, both have to develop the same things. Okay, so now this is what this particular verse is. And the next one, he's going to open up a little bit more about these two paths. Any question, comment, or anybody wants to add anything? Okay, looks like everybody's okay with it, right? Any volunteer to read verse 3 commentary? So Meera ji can read then.
He should be known as a perpetual sannyasi who neither hates nor desires. For, free from the pairs of opposites, O mighty arm, he is easily set free from bondage. Why participation in work is said to be easier for a beginner than renunciation of action is explained here. While defining a sannyasi, Krishna's revolutionary statement cleanses the idea of renunciation from all its external embellishments. He gives more importance to the internal mental condition than to the external uniform. According to the Lord, he is a sannyasi who neither likes nor dislikes.
So now everybody got this idea, right? That how Krishna Bhagwan every time brings to your mental state. It does not matter which path you take. If mentally you are not progressing, you have not done anything. And the same thing about the bhakt also. Hey, जो निर्गुण में जिसको उपासना करनी है आराम से करो करनी हो तो, but उसको वो develop करना पड़ेगा भक्ति inside his heart, और सगुण में करो. So that's why firstly we should not be judging anybody, in their path, because it is an internal journey, and where you progress, that's where you should stick to. So then sometimes we argue, no, this is better, that is better. All that is a pretty useless argument, because it does not matter if internal thing is not getting better. And then one more thing I want to tell you, that Swamiji is going to bring out another very different angle in here. And all of them are valid, because I said Bhagavad Gita is a very subtle subject. And there are many aspects to the same verses. And, the more aspect we learn, the better it will sink into us. So let's see what he's going to bring.
Likes and dislikes, success and failure, joy and sorrow, and such other pairs of opposites are the wheels on which the mind rolls forward, earning the experience of life. Our intellect can register a situation or a condition only with reference to the comparative estimate of its opposite. Thus, I can understand light only with reference to my knowledge of darkness. Comparison is the only way of understanding given to man. If there is no contrast for a thing, we cannot gain knowledge of that thing.
So he's telling you that intellect is absolutely necessary to function in the world. So it is not as a completely useless thing, or a pair of opposite have no role. That's not what it is all about. But that is good for functioning in the world, because in the world without this pair of opposite we don't understand anything. In fact, किसी ने बोला कि सुख और दुख भी पता नहीं चलेगा हमको. किसी को 100% सारा टाइम सुख ही सुख मिलता रहे ना, वो सुख से भी बोर हो जाएगा, उसको वैल्यू ही नहीं रहेगी उसकी. फिर कभी कभी होता है ना कि थोड़ा सा दुख आता है, फिर जब सुख आता है तो कितना अच्छा लगता है, बिकॉज हमने वो opposite की वजह से देखा. So there is a role to it, and it is necessary, this instrument. But then let's see the next paragraph.
If comparison and contrast are the methods of knowing for the mind and intellect instrument, then to renounce them is to renounce the vehicle. A car is a vehicle that moves on the earth. It cannot be used in water. Thus, if I am sailing on the ocean, I am certainly not moving in the car, but I am using a vehicle which floats on water. In the field of plurality, where comparison and contrast are possible, I can use the vehicle of the intellect and mind. The stanza here states that he is a true sannyasi who has gone beyond the perception of contrast, which necessarily means that he is one who has transcended the inner instrument of mind and intellect.
So here he's telling you that to move forward in the path of spiritual world, you have to transcend the mind intellect. And that's what everybody says, that if बोलते ना, इसीलिए हमने बोला कि वो तर्क वितर्क से ये सब्जेक्ट समझ में नहीं आएगा, और खाली इमोशनलिज्म से भी समझ में नहीं आएगा. उसका कॉम्बिनेशन जब एक अच्छा बैलेंस हो जाता है, then you rise above it. That's the whole technique. So he's saying, and the example he gave is so beautiful, that certain things are only possible to use in certain situations. A car cannot go in the water, or the boat cannot go on the road, So it's like if you say you are comparing apple and oranges. Oh, the intellect is a completely useless thing. No, it is useful thing for the world. But if you are trying to understand Bhagwan with the intellect, you're going to fail at the end if you continue. To a certain point, yes, we need the intellect to understand, from the intellectual level. But after that, you have to rise above it. You have to drop that instrument. That's what he's talking about. And then the best example, again and again, I keep bringing up, is that high jump that people do. They use a pole, they push up, and then they drop the pole, and then they go over. So that's how it is, the intellect also. That you keep, they call it purity of intellect. Usko pure करते जाओ, वो transparent हो जाता है. Then, the light of God shines through it. Kind of thing. Okay.
This is no easy task. To free oneself from the pairs of opposites is to be free from all the limitations of mortal existence among finite objects. By thus defining the sannyasi, Krishna is not trying to paint a dreary picture of hopelessness for the seekers. He has in mind immediately the growth and development of Arjuna. The Pandav prince was then having in his intellect thick vasana coatings of heroic instincts and kingly impulses for action. This stanza is given in order to persuade him to keep away from a hasty dash into sannyas.
So now you know the context also, that why he's telling him about the sannyasi, because Arjun wanted to run away and become a sannyasi, and he's just telling him that you're not ready for it, So everybody has a different temperament, but like I keep reminding everybody, according to all the saints and sages, and if we do deep inquiry, we have a lot of qualities of Arjun only, So for us also, and last time we discussed that if you're not sure where you belong, Karma Yoga is a safe way to start. So you will not have a failure. So Karma Yoga will automatically slide you into. So I think Krishna Bhagwan has given such a क्या बोलना चाहिए, foolproof method, I will call it. गारंटी बोलते हैं ना कि क्या बोलते हैं उसको कि फ्री में दे देंगे वापस, नहीं तो अगर नहीं चलेगा तो. If you follow everything that he's saying, that's the main thing. You cannot say, oh, I've been doing this and nothing happened. That means you're not doing it correctly. That's all it means. Or you have not understood it correctly.
Apart from indicating the idealism of renunciation, it indicates the revolutionary times when a renaissance of Hinduism was staged in the age of Mahabharata. Even Arjun, a well-educated man, felt that even Arjun, a well-educated man, felt that sannyas consisted in running away from the battlefield of life to a safer and quieter valley of the Himalayas. At such a time, to announce to the world that sannyas is to be the garb of the mind and not the cloth of the body, and that renunciation should be earned as an honest wage for right actions performed in the outer world, must have been a daring revolutionary statement. The Geeta is too full of them, and hence its importance as a modern scripture of the Hindus. Its appeal to the modern man of the world is also because of these flashes of original restatements of the Gita.
So yeah, he's just explaining that how he said that sannyas is something to do with the mind, nothing to do with the outer clothes. And we already know there are people who are like, I think one of the Swami was calling them white clothes sannyasi, or like regular 3-piece suit sannyasis. There are those kind of people, and then there are people who take that choga and then they are full of like all this dvesh and this and that. So we know that outer se kya hone wala, kuch nahi hone wala. So it is something internal.
The lesson for us is that we can all become sannyasis, living exactly where we are,
yes,
doing exactly what we are doing.
Yes.
But with that awareness that Krishna wants us to have.
Exactly. And later on, we are going to do the next verse. We have some time, so we can go into it, and you will see he will open it up more also. That it really doesn't matter, because which path you take depends on your mental makeup. That doesn't mean that sannyasi jo sachmuch sannyas le lete hain that they are any less, but that is their path, and you have this path. Both paths lead to the exactly same goal, and you can take either one, but you have to choose according to your own mental makeup. That is the big learning. You cannot copy anybody. You cannot follow, that person is doing, that's why, or start giving example. वो बुद्धा ने किया था, वो विवेकानंद ने किया था, वैसे ही. Hey, you are not Vivekanand. But does that mean that you cannot reach where Vivekanand has reached? No, you can. But then you have to develop these 3 things you have to give up, that what he told you. Dvesh, cravings, and rise above the likes and dislikes. It sounds simple, it is difficult, but that is the path.
One question, Umaji. Yeah. I mean, the sentence that renunciation should be earned as an honest wage for right actions performed in the outer world. So that's what we're talking about, of the rag and dvesh and all that in the getting your, is that what we're talking about?
I think what he's saying about is right action performed in the outer world. You're not withdrawing from the world. I think that's the context over here.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
that means once you follow those, once you rise above the dvandvas and the we're talking about the anger and the desires, then, and that earn means that keep on doing what you're doing and rise above all that.
Yes, you can say it, yeah. So basically, you can still keep doing suppose if somebody is a businessman or somebody is a soldier, they can continue to be a businessman, but they will have those 3 things got rid of them. So koi bolega, oh, sabhi log unko buddhu bana denge. No. That guy is not a fool. He will still do a good business, but he will not do it with those 3 modes in him. And that's why they gave Raja Janak का example. कि राजा जनक ने पूरा राज्य चलाया अपना, और सभी उनको रिस्पेक्ट भी करते थे. then you know those people who rise above these three things, उनके सानिध्य में आकर ना दुष्ट लोग भी अच्छे बन जाते हैं. फिर उनको चीट भी नहीं करेंगे वो. You know what I'm saying? कि some amazing things happen. और किसी ने कुछ कर भी दिया तो वो they don't get phased. Like, you know, I remember that when I first joined Chinmaya Mission, you know, like, there were so many people who were coming there for a long time. I was still young and there were some other people. And I used to just look at them and say, God, they are such good people. How did they develop this mental balance and all that? Like, there was one gentleman, you know, some sadhu came from India, okay? He was a fake sadhu. तो उसने उसका ना बुद्धू बना के चीट वीट करके उससे खूब सारे पैसे वैसे ले लिया, ये कर लिया. And so जब मुझे पता चला तो I was like, you know, when you're young, you know, like, what is this nonsense? We should tell the whole world what this guy did. And you think, you know, मेरा कुछ पिछले जन्म का होगा, लेना देना छोड़ो, you know, करके उसको कुछ, he was just like, he gave up that. And I was like, wow, you know, like, but he had developed that. You know, okay, somebody, you know, cheated you. That also didn't faze him. He didn't want to go and shout at him or prosecute him. Say, ले गया तो ले गया, कोई बात नहीं. You know, I was like impressed with that. So that's what it is.
Yeah, it was just the question of when it says earned as an honest wage, and that means to me it was like practice, and you know we'll do that for
yeah,
right
and I think that Swamiji is purposely using those languages because whenever we think about wage and this and that, तो लगता है दुनियादारी की बातें, business and ये सब हो रहा है, and he's saying no, that is, you know, doing this is like earning an honest wage. He's bringing the spirituality into the marketplace. And saying that in the marketplace you can develop your all these things. So that's right.
Okay, thank you.
So any other question, comment? Anybody has? So shall we go to the next? We may not finish, but jitna 15 minutes we can get started. Verse 4 of chapter 5. Sankhya yogo pruthak balaha pravadhanti na panditaha ekam apyasthita samyaga ubhayor vindate phalam. Sankhya yogo. Sankhya and yoga. So this word Sankhya, he's going to explain. Sometimes, you know, certain words are used in certain context. Because there is a Sankhya philosophy. He's not talking about that. He just जो प्रवृत्ति और निवृत्ति का मार्ग है, सो एक है संन्यास का मार्ग और एक है कर्म योगी. सो ही इज टॉकिंग सांख्य, यहाँ पर संन्यास के मार्ग को कहा गया है. सो जस्ट थिंक ऑफ इट दैट वे, सांख्य एंड द कर्म योगी. पृथक इज डिस्टिंक्ट बिकॉज उनका अपेरेंटली ऊपर से वो बहुत अलग मार्ग दिखाई देते हैं, राइट? और हम लोग को कभी कभी ऐसा लगता है वो संन्यास का मार्ग तो डेफिनेटली सक्सेसफुल होएगा और यहाँ पर तो फेल ही होंगे हम लोग, you know, something like that we think, but Bhagwan is giving equal importance to both. He's saying that doesn't matter. You can be a householder, karma yogi, and you can do everything. What this guy is reaching, that's exactly place you will also reach. So Pruthak is separate. Balaha is children. And here when they say Balaha, he's talking about spiritually ignorant people. Spiritual world mein Balaha. So a 80-year-old can be a Balaha here too. And like Nachiketa, 10-year-old can be adult over here. So the context is spiritual ignorance over here. Balaha ke liye. Pravadanti, speak. Na is not. Panditaha, the wise. Ekam is one. Api is even. Astitaha, establish. Samyak, truly. Ubhayo, of both. Vindate, obtains. Phalam is fruit. So let's see the different words and all that. So like I said that the Sankhya is used there for karma sannyas. Okay. So we have to know this because otherwise in other places he has used Sankhya for knowledge also. But we also should know that, you know, technically what he's talking about, that when somebody does karma sannyas, main focus is to gain knowledge. Because he doesn't have the duties of other duties, right? Worldly duties, कोई business नहीं करना है उसको, कुछ household की duties नहीं है. So his focus is on doing gaining knowledge. He takes that path, उसको सांख्य बोला है. And जो कर्म योगी है उसको focus is on action, doing action in certain attitude. That's where the focus is for. So that also technical thing we should understand. So in sannyas, you renounce a lot of things. In karma yogi, you're not renouncing physically anything, but the renunciation for both is from the mental perspective. Okay, and then children, bala, I already explained that what they're talking about. They're spiritually ignorant people. So जो बाला होते हैं ना, वो लोग सोचते हैं कि ये they're difference. There is a difference in the path. But the children think that these two paths are different and they lead you to a different thing or whatever crazy ideas that they have. So and then I think I already mentioned that some people will give example of, hey, Vivekananda and Buddha, that's the only way to do it. So if you want to reach moksha, सब छोड़ छाड़ के तुमको जाना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो नहीं होगा. घर में बैठे हुए तो सभी लोग परेशान करेंगे, कितने दलीलें दे देंगे, कि you don't have time and this will happen, that will happen, sansar will pull you in and you cannot do a job outside unless you are cunning these days. You hear all kinds of arguments, So he's saying, no, that's not true.